In my last video, we talked about fail-safes that all of us should be using within our factories, and I mentioned the load balancer that you can see here for the outputs of trains, and a few of you asked for more on this. So today we're covering mergers and load balancers for trains specifically. However, if you are wanting to see some ratio splitters such as these ones here, which I've created as a 1:5 load balancer and a 1:3 load balancer, then let me know in the comments below, and perhaps we will do a video on ratio load balancing shortly. And if you're wondering what I meant by a ratio load balancer, a 5:1 load balancer will have 5 going in one side and then 1 in the other. So if we times 16 by 5, should be about the amount in here. So this one's 82. Obviously there's a slight difference because of the amount, the way the load balance works. But if we were to have, say, exactly 60 in here, it would be 50 in one, 10 in the other. This one is a 3:1. So we have 3 times the amount of resources in this one to, this one to this one. As you can see, that's almost perfect. We have 25 and then 74 there. But that's enough on that today. You're probably wondering why use a load balancer on a train output. Well, in this example, this train station is receiving one train which has 2 carriages of sulfur and 2 coal, as you can see there, and also another train that sends in 1 freight of sulfur on its own. Now, you don't want to have resources coming out of just one section and then heading to the factory, because then you'll have one side of your factory full. Instead, it's better to use a load balancer which merges and splits the resources equally, so that each line, as you can see here, we have 4 equal lines all filled and running an equal load balance. Now, I won't put this load balancer in this video. I won't show you how to make that, but I have done a blueprint for this. If you want to see how this is made, do check out my fail-safes video. It is in that video, how to build this. I'll put a link in the cards, which means if you click the description and scroll to the bottom, it will show it in the video section there. However, I will show you how to make a 3:3 balancer, which is really easy to set up. You can place this in front of your train station, and then all you need to do is connect the inputs. And from here you have a 3:3 balancer, and obviously if you want to use the top section you can, but you'll have to move the resources to another area. But before we build this, there's one thing that I should touch on as well, which is when bringing resources into a train station. You may have noticed when resources are being loaded into a station, you will see this pause. The train station cannot keep receiving resources while it's in its loading phase. This, if you don't have a long line, as you can see here, may cause some problems further down the line because it saturates the belts and stops the efficiency running. It stops the factory running altogether. I do want to apologize as well for the trees clipping through. I don't have anything on me, and this is the foliage updating from update 8 experimental. There is, however, an easy fix for this, and all it requires is using some kind of buffer. Just in front, like so. And what this does is while the train is loading, it buffers up, and then once the train leaves, it uses both outputs from the industrial buffer storage unit to fill up at double speed the inputs of the train station. This works providing you're just using a single line into the train station, or you're not maxing out the throughput. If, however, you are using both inputs for a train station and you're maxing out the belts, using a buffer isn't going to help you. You're always going to be playing catch up, and that's going to result in your factory switching off. So either you want to double up the freight stations that you have, and that way you're splitting the resources across multiple stations, or you can do that, what I've done here, which is add a single station extra, and we're using smart splitters to overflow, if we just zoom in here, into industrial storage units as a buffer, and then merging to go into a third freight station. And you can do this with 2 or even 3 lines heading into 3 freight stations worth of resources, because the chances are the loading time isn't going to fill up both the industrial storage units. Now I hear you say, but what if we're using liquids? Well, that's a great question. We can do a similar system with liquids as well. I'll just show you how to do that really quickly. And here we are with the buffer solution. Now with this, you do need to make sure that you have head lift. It needs to be able to lift the liquids to fill that container. If it doesn't, you're not going to get the resources to flow into the top section. So you may need to extend this out and add a pump to the system. But how it works is we have our aqua colored pipes. Those are going to flow into the train station here. When the train station is loading, the pipe is going to start to fill. So it might actually be a good idea at this point to place a valve, though it's not necessary. And all this does is ensure that this pipe is going to fill quicker and it's not going to slosh back into here. Once this fills up and fully saturates, the liquids will start to flow up here and then overflow using the reverse U-bend into our storage. And then once this is able to unload again, the liquids will start to flow up into the storage using both inputs now. So that is how the overflow system works for liquids when it comes to trains. And I will just very quickly build one for you. So we're going to place our junction first, and then we're going to run our input pipe all the way through. And then we're going to place this so that's 1, 2, and 3 places away. And we're going to go all the way up. And then we're going to drop this back down and delete this section. From here, we want to place this just the other side. And then we're going to run our pipe back around into the fluid storage unit. On the other side, we're going to take our pipe, and we are using the horizontal vertical mode. We're going to place this and then connect it to the other side of the fluid buffer. And this is how you create the fluid buffer trains system in Satisfactory. Next, let's work on the 3-to-3 load balancer. We're going to do this as a blueprint, and I will make this available on my Patreon for anyone who wants access to this without having to do it yourself. The same as the 2-to-2 or 4-to-4 balancer that we've done as well. We're going to start off here by placing a splitter in the center section. We're then going to be placing a merger directly next to this on both sides, followed by another splitter facing into the side merger, and the same on the other side. At this point, we're going to want to have a conveyor lift. This is going to be heading towards the splitter there. And we're also going to do, straight after this, another elevator. For this, I am using the Mark IV belts, but you can use whichever you prefer. And we're going to want to make sure that all of our splitters outputs are heading towards the mergers. We then have a output from this splitter, which is going to run underneath this elevator here. So we're going to move that 2 apart and run this all the way through. Now we're going to run it all the way in. Next, we want to grab ourselves a stackable conveyor pole. We're then going to place that in this space here, and this will allow us to place down an elevator so that it is receiving items from this splitter, and it keeps it extra tight. It's really important. If you don't do this, you'll find that you won't have enough room. We're going to do this also on the other side as well. So 2 stacks high, and then we're going to bring that down. And this is going to feed into this merger. The difficulty with doing a load balancer that's 3 to 3 or 4 to 4 or 5 to 5 is that you have to split all of the resources first and then evenly distribute them between all the mergers. And that's the issue that we have with this, and why it makes it very difficult to do a 6 to 6 load balancer that's clean, and why I prefer doing 2 of these rather than trying to do a 6 to 6. I've actually placed this one wrong. We're going to want to place a merger on top of the middle splitter, and then we're going to have its output going towards the back. We'll delete the middle one, and we're going to place down an elevator from the splitter to that merger. We're going to do the same on the front of all the splitters, and then we're going to send these into this merger that we've just placed. From here, we're going to run this merger all the way to here. And from here, we will place, or I suppose, yeah, we're going to have to place this here. It's another elevator, and this one's leading the merged items to an output. So we'll have one output here, one here, and one here. Next, we need to place the inputs for the other 2 lines. This is the first input. The other 2 will have to be only marked because we can't build on a elevator, not an elevator. We can't place anything on this grid, only these poles. But providing you're 2 away, we'll be able to easily do a line to these inputs. 1, 2. From here, we will feed these splitters, make sure that everything is hooked up, which it is, and then you can save it. Our conveyor poles and our elevator here with the outputs, and then connect these together. If you're using both outputs, your best bet is probably going to be to place 2 of these slightly further away from the train station, and then bringing these resources across and then distributing them. But there you are, guys. That is a 3 to 3 load balancer for your train systems. So at this point, we have covered the 4 to 4 ratio load balancer for train stations, which is 2 freights being balanced out, and also the 3 to 3, which we can double up as a 6 to 6. And now we're wondering about a 8 to 8. Well, the great thing is with our 4 to 4, we can just double this up, which I'll show you in a moment. So you would have your inputs for all 4 freights, and then you'd need to take the mergers and do the same again. So what we would do is, if I show you over here, it'd be much better. We're taking our resources from the train station, and these are being balanced out. So we know that these 2 are balanced together and these 2 are balanced together. And then at this point, we're going to place 2 more 4 to 4 load balancers. And we're going to take 2 of the 4 outputs from these mergers to these splitters, and the other 2 to the other blueprint. We're also going to do the same on this side. So we're splitting each of these in half between these 2, so that this receives 2 lines of this blueprint and 2 of these, and the other one receives equally 2 of both. And what happens is, when we add some resources, we're just going to do a random amount, and it should mean that the other end we will have, let's do a, there we go. When it comes to these, all of them should be balanced out. Just give them a little while to warm up. Okay, and there's that done. So if we go to our scanner now, you can see how we have almost perfectly split between these. Now there is a slight difference here, and that could be down to one of the lines overflowing, like backflowing. That shouldn't be the case, so it's probably that the next few resources will actually go into this one. Yeah, but there we are, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you'd like us to cover other load balancers, whether that's ones for your factory or ratio load balancers, do let me know in the comments below. And obviously, if you do want to get your hands on these blueprints and you don't want to go through building them like I've shown, then you can join me over on Patreon and I'll have that available for you. But I do very much hope that this will help you improve the efficiency of your builds when using trains in your factory. Special thanks does go to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, most notably our Solarclipse patrons James Owen, Firefless and Treble, as well as our Lunas, the Calamity Ben, Star and That Dude AW, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is the Salchin Husky. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.